These are the plaintiffs, Tanya and Milton Mick Knudsen. Milton says the defendant is his sister, and they're having a bitter misunderstanding about the $2,000 she owes them. That's why they're suing. This is the defendant, Barbara Quam. She says the plaintiff acted like a big shot on a family home he was trying to buy her out of. Now that he's lost his job and isn't such a big shot anymore, he's trying to sue her for something she just doesn't owe. She's accused of bothering a brother.
All parties, please use your right hand. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Millian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Knudsen, talk to me. What are we, this is a family home that was left to how many people?
I believe there was
17
people that had an investment in this house.
It was a Knudsen-built home that my granddad built.
Okay. And so for all those years that 17 people were left the property, it would be rented and then you would proportionally distribute the rent proceeds?
No, because that was just found out lately that it was 17 owners. My dad passed 6 years ago, and we had no part of it at that time.
I'm lost. So then when did you ever get rent?
We never did. What happened was his uncle and his wife called us and was talking to us about this house, saying that they didn't want to rent it out anymore and take care of the property. They just wanted to buy it out.
Who was taking the rental property? Who was renting? Who was getting the rental income?
My uncle.
His uncle, Everett Knudsen.
Right, but I'm looking at your complaint, and right in your complaint, you say that you wanted to buy your sister's share because you wanted a bigger stake, and you figure even if you don't get the house in the end, at least you'll be getting more proportion of rent. What were you referring to when you said that in the complaint?
If we didn't get the house, I don't know.
The thing is,
are you going to stop talking for him and let him talk? Okay, good. Yeah. So here's my question to you. Right in the complaint, here's what you say. Just a second. Here's what you say. In the complaint, you say, we approached my sister to buy her share of the house. We did the same with my stepmom and my niece. I gave my sister $2,000 for her share. And if my wife and I got the house, great. If we weren't the ones who wound up purchasing the house, then we'd get the defendant's share of the proceeds. Oh, I'm sorry, of the sale. So who was renting out a house that you had an interest in and not giving you any rent money? That was your uncle?
Yes.
Yeah. Was your uncle allowed under the terms of the bequest? Was he allowed to live in it or rent it or do whatever he wanted during his lifetime?
Evidently, yes, because we just found out that we were co-owners in it just within the past couple of years.
Wow. So you approached your sister and you bought her share for how much?
$2,000.
And is that correct, Ms. Quam, that you sold him your share for $2,000?
No, he wanted to buy my share so he had as much credits as my uncle did when it went off in auctioning. And he still owed me $500 because he was going to buy me for $2,500, and he never paid me the $500.
Do you have any proof that he was supposed to buy you out for $2,500?
It's just his word.
Okay, you have a text, an email, anything?
Well, my daughter was there, and Mrs. Knudsen wasn't there at the bank when this was. He gave me the money and stuff, so I kind of have a problem with her testifying against me because she wasn't there.
Oh, I don't know what she wants to testify about. Maybe she's testifying about other stuff about you. But is your daughter here prepared to testify?
No, she's renting a house for my brother, and she was kind of, I don't know, he can be malicious, if you want to say that. I rented from him before, and he's kind of a scary person.
Okay, so you and your brother apparently don't get along?
We never have. I can't stand him anymore. You know,
okay. So
he's been this way my whole life.
Okay, but you did take $2,000 from him, right?
I didn't take it. He gave it to me, and he says that if he lost, it'd be his loss. Yes.
Right. So he gives it to you. And is there any paperwork from the purchase of her share of the house?
Yeah, the lawyer sent out, and you should have that showing what everybody got.
That is not my question. I'm not talking about what happened after this house got sold. I'm talking about when you bought your sister's shares for $2,000, did you create any paperwork about the selling of the shares?
No, we didn't because we didn't know we had to. So it was
No
a back
real
and
estate
forth.
transaction can be verbal. You can't have a verbal real estate transaction. Transactions involving real estate have to be in writing. So now what do we have? Typically speaking, I'd turn around and look at him and say, oh, this is the pièce de résistance. The house gets sold. And even though you sold your rights to the house to him, you end up getting a share called $758.59, and you go and cash the check instead of giving it to your brother, to whom you knew you had, quote, sold the shares to. So tell me about that, how you cashed that $758 check.
My brother has not talked to me, and when he found out I was getting a $750 check, he finally calls me up and says, "Hey, sis, how you doing? I love you." And my mom passed away 28 years ago, and he still owed me $500 from the $2,500. He promised me he would pay. So that's one reason why I did not give him the $750. The second is my mom's been
Well, that
dead
would
for
only,
28
I'm sorry,
years.
that would only justify you keeping 500.
Yeah.
That wouldn't
Yes,
justify you
ma'am.
keeping 758. So, okay, go on.
Okay, well, so then, my mom passed away and I was supposed to get her cedar chest. Well, he's kept that hostage, if you want to say, and he has everything of my mom's and my dad's, and both of them are dead. And here it is 6 years later from my dad in 28, and he says, I don't get it. What gives him the right to say, I don't get what my mom wanted to give me?
Look, there's a
That's
forum
another
for
reason.
this. Right, but when siblings are arguing over an estate, the forum to take care of that is to go to probate court and to stake your claim and your right to whatever it is that you feel. Now, most times, if there's not enough involved to justify it, people just don't bother. But, there's a way for you to handle that in court. There's also a way for you to buy a share of someone's real estate interest, and it's not verbal. That's not a way to do that, so it's not a valid contract. But so here you've got $758.59 that you pocketed, which was apparently your share, but you also pocketed $2,000 a couple of years ago, and when he bought your share. But if he doesn't have your share, then why should you keep the $2,000? I mean, I was looking at this saying, oh, well, you got to pay him the $758 because that really belongs to him. But it doesn't belong to him because this contract wasn't in writing. So now you owe him, ironically, more than that, which is the $2,000 that he paid you originally.
No, I don't, because I did not agree to pay him the $2,000. He said if he loses, then it's his loss, Your Honor.
Right, but that's yes, I know that. That's if he doesn't get to buy the house. But you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. And what you did was, the only reason for you to have $2,000 is what? You were selling him your share, right?
I guess so. I was kind of, it just happened just like that.
Right.
Your Honor.
And then you turn around and then you take the money for your share. So you see, you know what you're doing. It's not like a big mystery.
Well,
right. Okay. So you can't have it both ways.
Everybody. Well, he can't have it both ways.
But you got to return the two. Well, no, you only get to have it one way, and that's you get to keep the $758.59. But guess what? You got to return. You've got to return the $2,000. What ended up happening? You didn't get the house. Your uncle ended up being high bid.
Yes.
He didn't even go to the auction, Your Honor.
Did you know about the auction? Why weren't you at the auction if you wanted the house so badly?
All I had for auction was what I had in savings.
So you couldn't afford it. That's fine.
$40,000.
Right.
Okay.
So that's why you didn't go. You didn't have the funds to buy it at that moment. So that was
Exactly.
it. All right.
And he was at work and I was there.
She was there.
And
just in case we couldn't bid on it.
Just to be about you, what are you going to buy it with? You need money to buy it. These are some basic things,
we did have
guys.
some money. Yeah. But I was there just to see what his uncle was going to bid on.
And so his uncle bought it for how much? What did his uncle buy it for?
$32,000.
And do you feel that that's undervalued?
Yes. Yes. That house is worth $200,000 and some thousand. He rented it out, and the people that
But
rented
guys,
the place,
you see, how did it end up in auction to begin with? That's what I don't understand.
Because we couldn't all agree what to be done with it. So he took it.
Right, but then why didn't it just get sold? Why did it have to be sold at auction?
Because
how did the government get involved? Was there like a big tax lien or something? Was there?
No. I paid the taxes on it.
His lawyer somehow
it sounds like nobody was really on top of this because
we weren't.
All right, Ms. Quam, I'm ordering you to return the $2,000. You guys, if there was any foul play with the uncle, well, I'm going to tell you why. Because
My
he didn't
uncle
get
has a
anything for
restraining order
that.
against him.
I don't
I
care.
know, but that's
I don't
why
care. What does that
only
have to
got
do with you?
750 because it does, because I only got 750, Your Honor, because the house sold for only 32.
Right, but the house
was
shouldn't
my
have sold for
brother-
only 32. So you guys,
Well, it
if
did,
there's
because my
something
brother
wrong, if
didn't-
there was some hinky stuff because he, you know, your uncle put it at auction and then he's the bid, you know, if there's some hinky stuff there, then you guys need to have that looked at by a lawyer. But that means somebody has to get the funds, hire a lawyer. You know, it depends on how far you want it to go. You know, people don't just get to do whatever they want, but sometimes it costs us to be able to air bad behavior in the courts. You have to go to court. You have to file something. You know, you got to do something. But I don't know, Ms. Quam, how you don't see how you owe $2,000. You took $2,000 for for giving him your shares, and then you didn't give it. I don't care. And then you didn't give him your shares. So that's why it could not be. It could not be any clearer why you have to give him back the $2,000. You have to give him back the $2,000 because you didn't do what you said you were going to do. $2,000 verdict for the plaintiff. That's my judgment.
Thank you.
Not doing it. Not doing it.
So the defendant has to give the $2,000 back. She's there saying you're not going to do it. Ms. Quam, you have to. You're getting a court order now to give that $2,000 back. What are you going to do?
I don't have a brother anymore. I'll give him that, but he can stay out of my life.
All right. Well, look, you got to give $2,000 whether you like it or not. You're going to have to do it. Mr. and Ms. Knudsen, what do you think about the judge's decision now?
I know that we didn't do things right.
And if she would have gave us that money, it would have been fine. We wouldn't be here.
We had it set up that we were going to meet and go through the stuff in the shed, and she never showed up. Yeah.
All right, very good. Okay, well, look, I hope you work it out, all right? That's the way it ends in court here today. Now, you get $2,000 back from her.
When I see brothers and sisters and siblings fighting like this over what remains of an estate, whether it's real property or anything else, I think to myself, God, I wish I left nothing and the last check I write bounces, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, but it's probably the best thing you could ever do for your heirs is to not put them in this position.
Right.
Have 17 people own a house.
Or have an ironclad.
Just sell it, and then the proceeds go to the 17 people.
Right.
But you know, when you put people in that position that they have to be in business together, or they have to own a house together, or they have, you know, what you've done is exactly the opposite of what you intended to do.
Right.
You intended to make everybody there happy, and what you did was you made everybody unhappy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad.
Okay, Layla wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, can my boss force me to get a COVID vaccine in order to go to work? So you got to know this. I mean, this is just untested territory. Based on what I know so far, I think an employer has a legal right to keep somebody out who doesn't get a test. I think there's a public safety issue there. And also, there's not a protected class of people that doesn't have to get a vaccine. So I think the answer is yes, they can. That'll do it for this case. Litigants for the next case inside the courtroom.